Vibes include Business Education Corner, Business Quote of the Day, Agriculture Time, and Mama Love Chat of the Day.
Mama, I don't ever want to see you cry.
Conscious Business is brought to you by Like New Steam Cleaning. You too can get exposure and awareness for your business when you call Win FM's sales department to advertise here. Conscious Business is positive growth.
Different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Let's get real on Win FM. Hi, this is Lavi. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on Win FM. Get ready for an hour of real talk that will keep you engaged and informed, bringing you insights, the hottest topics of the moment, and perspectives that matter from the runway to the political arena. Real talk with Lavi covers it all. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on Win FM. Let's get real on Win FM. Hi, this is Lavi. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on Win FM. Get ready for an hour of real talk that will keep you engaged and informed, bringing you insights, the hottest topics of the moment, and perspectives that matter from the runway to the political arena. Real talk with Lavi covers it all. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on Win FM.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Similar know about you, but me love sing is a Nevis bad.
Soca Zone presents Showcase. Is a brand new show. It's an open mic edition for the artists. You can come and showcase your talent, where you can sing, do what you feel like, freestyle. If you want to be a singer from how long, but don't get the push nor the courage, this is the show for you. Every first Saturday, every month, we're going to be doing a show for the artists them. This is what the open mic edition is all about. The host Tazlim, aka DJ Raspy of Tough House Sound, and Scratchy Bama. We don't know. Soca Zone 98.9, Win FM, Soca Zone Showcase. Every first Saturday, every month, Soca Zone presents Showcase Artist Thing 98.9.
Let's get real on Win FM. Hi, this is Lavi. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on Win FM. Get ready for an hour of real talk that will keep you engaged and informed, bringing you insights, the hottest topics of the moment, and perspectives that matter from the runway to the political arena. Real talk with Lavi covers it all. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on Win FM. Kids and Nevis, welcome back to the Real Talk with lovely lavish Lavi. Listen, I had a packed day today. I got up this morning at 5 o'clock, get myself ready, and hit the road, getting that exercise that I do every single day. But as you know, exercise, health is wealth. So folks, if you're not exercising, people, get on out, get in the gym. For whatever reason, if you kind of get on the outside and you could wiggle a finger, you could wiggle your toes, move your neck, move your hand, move your shoulders, wind your waist, kick up your foot, shove back your body. Yes, you got to make sure that you're flexing those muscles. Tonight, people, I have a packed show. And of course, I have someone in the studios with me. But tonight, I'm going to let you guys know right away. The topic that we are going to be introducing tonight on The Real Talk is how does mature employee cope with job loss or reassignment when government changes? I am going to repeat again. How does mature employees cope with job loss or reassignment when government changes? And I believe that a lot of us can relate to something like this. And we have a guest that, she's no stranger. She has been in it for quite a while, and she's going to be here to shed some light on it, and we're going to have a discussion, a healthy discussion, because this is so needed in our federation. Matter of fact, in the entire Caribbean. Because as you know, in America, you can be on any political sides. You can be a Republican, you can be a Democrat, and you don't have any, I think we don't have any discrimination, but because the place is so big, they don't have any choice because they need people to come in and fill these jobs. But here in the small island, in the Caribbean island, I think that sometimes our supporters feel that they own the government, but I don't think that when they really take time out to think about it, or maybe they really don't know that the right thing to do is to know that when you get a government job, it's a job that you don't own the job. It's a job that is given to you and it can take back from you. So you got to, put yourself in a position that you can live after whatever job you have. And persons that feel like they own this party, what you call that, die hard and feel like they own the government, and you hear some of them, well, it's my party and it's my prime minister, it's my premier. At the end of the day, I know there's something that's a country above selves. We don't own the government. We help farm. We, the people, help farm government. But I stand corrected, people, because this is what Real Talk is about. But the whole idea of our topic tonight is to let people know that there's life after a government job, and there's also life after retirement. So we got to be very careful if we are not really parking up ourselves very early here in our beautiful federation. You have persons, I hear them all the time, men, women, man, I can't wait to retire. I can't wait to go home, when I retire. And I don't know what people will be thinking when they say they can't wait to retire, because some of these people barely 45, 50, 55, and they can't wait to go home to do what? Many of them, they don't even know how to think after they lose a job or whatever happened, and they just become very bitter, very angry. They go to social media and they troll every thread, and they become a nuisance. Let me tell you guys this. It has something named nuisance and lunatic, but a lot of persons are taking it to social media, and you see that very much in the elders. Older people are using social media, especially those that retire. It seems like they don't have a life after retirement, and I find it very much in those people that civil servants more than those in the service sector, because when persons are self-employed, basically, that's your livelihood. So you see people having jobs all when they're 60, 70, 80, because if you have a talent,
Nobody can take that away from you. And I also want to share on this here to you guys, people. What we're seeing here in our beautiful small island, all of a sudden, we are basically put in an age when it comes to being in the political arena. And why I said this, we are seeing people that are calling people old. So if you're 60, 65, they don't pack you up and say you're old. What a lot of people do not realize, and those that know, fully well know what I'm about to say right now, knowledge is something that if your brain is still functioning, you get what I'm saying, people? I think you get the gist, right? If your brain is still functioning, you cannot when it comes to experience. So we got to be very careful that when we are talking about this person too old, and leave way for the young, if you have a household and you're the mother, you let the children them take over, what you think gonna happen? I sure many people can share stories when they probably leave the children home and they leave an older one, maybe the adolescent one, to go over, look over the young one. And by the time if the parents have to be a fly on the wall and come back, she will be so frightened and make sure that she gets somebody that is mature to be the head and lead that household. So again, welcome to Real Talk with Lavi. And I just got to let you know that Real Talk comes on every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Real Talk is a program that is very positive. We bring the hard topics. Basically, we are not going to be here. I'm not going to entertain any arguments and, over people's opinion, just basically because you don't like to hear what somebody say. Real Talk is not about that. Real Talk is about bringing people on this show to share information that can build us and help many of us, if we are followers, that eventually we can become leaders and, helping us to think for ourselves and have a better mindset when it comes to listening to people and recognize that we cannot do it alone. And you notice, I don't know if it's a small island, it happened all over, yes. But when we're in a small island, we have to be very careful. Small communities, you definitely have to depend on teamwork. There's a lot of us with the mindset, well, I am independent, I don't need this and I don't need that. There's also something in co-independence. And we do need people. And when you need someone, let's suppose that tomorrow you have a problem and you can't talk, or you realize your neck hurting, your foot you can't move. And you recognize that, we do need people, no matter how much money you have and no matter how independent you are. You need people. You need families. And families can be anyone. There's a difference between family and relatives, right? So we have to be very, very careful when we are being selfish, and it becomes a part of us. When we put in certain leadership, we can be very self-indulgent because we feel that if it's not our idea, it cannot be someone else. Yet, we are teaching the children to do teamwork, but when we become adults, we're not doing it. Once again, it is 11 minutes after 8 o'clock. If you're just in tune, welcome the folks on the internet, the folks here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I know many of you want me to call your names, but I can't really call everybody's name. But do know, if you're listening to me, it's just pure love and light from the sexy, lovely, lavish Lavi from St. Peter's Parish. Tonight's program is going to be very, very informative. I have somebody that has been through it and somebody that is from the soil and somebody that have a lot of experience, and I just want to learn so much, because this is how we are going to continue to bring real talk. I also got to let you guys out there know, folks out there, forgive me if I'm saying you guys. It's an American thing. I'll have to work on it. So forgive me. I don't knock off my head because I say you guys. It's all love, right? Yeah. So I want people to know that you can now sponsor Real Talk. You can call me personally. I will put it in the thread. You can also call Win FM's station because, I'm here on the radio station, of course. So it will be very good if anyone want to share or give their contribute to the sponsorship with Real Talk with Lavi. So far, we have very great reviews. If you go online and you Google Real Talk with Lavi or you go on Win FM Media, you will see the numbers that we're really not looking that bad. We're always up in the K. Yes. So it shows that we are doing something good and we are basically being grounded and bringing things that is, factual and reality. We are not of any political affiliation, but of course we are going to bring what is current and what is happening, anything that can bring positive light and make us have a more open mind when it comes to just being a good citizen in St. Kitts and Nevis. We don't have to be always cussing out somebody and gaslighting on them and, putting them down, because at the end of the day, the place is too small. Everybody know of somebody. You might not even like what Lavi is doing here, but there's somebody else that like me too. So you see how life goes? Yes. So tonight I have none other than Miss Telka Wallace. Yes, people, I get her in the station with Lavi and we'll talk, and I'm looking at her in a lovely, what color is that?
Fuchsia.
Fuchsia. Yes, I know it wasn't purple, but it's along the purple family and whatever. It's such a beautiful, one of my favorite colors.
Yes.
I remember when the lipstick Fuchsia came out, and I felt it looked so good with dark skinned people.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So, folks, we don't have no time to waste because, it's a short program, but we try to make sure that we bring everything. But I was telling you guys quickly, I had a packed day today. I get up early in the morning since 5 o'clock, and then I went to different places. I just came from a meeting and straight here to the station, you know what I mean? And I'm just so happy because I'm like, hey, we'll talk going places. Good evening to you, Miss Telka.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about. It's a somewhat sensitive subject, but as you said earlier, many of us would have experienced this phenomenon, this small island phenomenon. And you said in the U.S. They do have political appointments as well. They have political appointments where, if Democrat is in and you got a job under the Democrat in a political appointment, you're either appointed by the president, or the vice president, or the special office of the Republicans or the Democrat, that if your party is no longer in office, that you have to demit office as well. But in our federation now, we also do have political appointments. And I experienced in 2015, I experienced the ultimate disappointment. It was a disappointment, but because I felt very secure in my job because I do a good job. But as the topic said, how do you cope as an older person when government change and you are either retired or you are sent to work somewhere else? And it happened to me in 2015, and it was so remarkable because it was in December when I normally send in for my vacation. After I do our volunteer function, where we do a nice function. I used to work at NEMA, and we have volunteers, and we usually do a function for our volunteers in December. So after that, I would be kind of tired, so I will take a little break. When I sent for my vacation, I got back a letter that told me to take my vacation and then proceed to retirement. And my vacation would have started on, they actually gave me a date which was Christmas Eve Day. Could you imagine that? However, I was not as devastated as many persons would have been. I did not prepare for it, and I hope that younger persons now prepare for retirement, because you can retire. You may be retired earlier than you think. I think now you can go up to age 62, but we were in the age 55 bracket. I was not even 55 as yet, but I was told. I wrote in to get an additional year, Because, you could write for an extension. You write for an extension, and I didn't get a response. I realized some persons around me were talking, but I wasn't paying attention. I was just going about my business. And then I got the letter. And I think people thought I would have been very upset or anything. For some reason, I was not upset. I am not a person that get upset easily, and I wasn't upset. I didn't prepare for it. And as I say, I hope younger persons now realize you're going to reach, now you can go up to 62, and Social Security is at 62 now, but it may become at an older age, like you may retire at 62, and Social Security doesn't come in until 65. And so, in my case, I was close to 55. And so I had 7 years before I become pensionable by Social Security. And my government pension was not a large one. And so it was a real financial challenge for a while, for a short while. And as I said, many persons would have experienced it where you did not realize you were a political target. You did not realize that you were a political target until that letter came, and you realize, somebody in this government deemed that even though I'm doing a good job, even though community and everybody love what I do, they told me I must proceed to retirement.
Right, so I just want to ask you a question while you continue what you were saying.
Right.
Because I'm now listening to you and you're giving your stories. Tell us a little bit more of your background so then persons out there listening will know the background of what your job was.
My job at NEMA, I was called the district's coordinator. First, I was the disaster preparedness officer, and then I became the NEMA district's coordinator, where I worked at the National Emergency Management Agency for over 18 years. And my job entailed coordinating the volunteers. NEMA have volunteers around the island, and I coordinated the volunteers so that we can be prepared in the event of any kind of hazard impact. It was a job that I loved, and I think people, even after, it's been 9 years since I haven't worked at NEMA, but my name is still being called at NEMA because I love my job. I love people, and I love my job.
So you did your job professionally?
Professionally.
Yes.
And I went above and beyond the call of duty. And so when I was retired, without any warning, I asked my permanent secretary, I say, so what happened to my letter? Why didn't you respond to my letter that I asked for an extension? And he said, it came from high up. Those were the words.
Right.
That is when I realized I was a political target. I didn't know at the time, but I was a political target. And so when these things happen, it is very traumatic. Remember, many of us do not come and meet anything. We don't come and meet a home. We don't come and meet a trust fund. We don't come and meet anything. And so by the time you catch yourself, when you're in your 40s and 50s, you have a mortgage, you have children at university, and you have other commitments. And so if that happens to you, then you're left, basically, a lot of people lose a lot because of the reassignment or political termination. And so over the years, when you look at it and you see what would have happened to you, and you realize, but for the grace of God, because even though I worked at NEMA, I volunteered so many other places. I live a life of volunteering, and my job at NEMA included implementation of many projects. And so the projects that I implemented, at the time you take them as a job, but it was really a training ground for you to function after. And so being unemployed for a while, it was an eye-opener to see where would you turn. And we have to make ourselves flexible. We have to be resilient and we have to be flexible to be able to function outside of the civil service. Now, after I was sent home, Lavi, I babysit. I got a job at Kitchen Hill to do exclusive babysitting for guests who come into Kitchen Hill. I used to assist the then Minister of Community and Social Development in Nevis. I used to assist her with community projects, and I continued to do so until when I was running out of money, and I said, listen, you will have to pay me now because you want the work done, so find a way to pay me. And so I got paid from there. But when these things happen, you have to be an acrobat. You have to be able to function in several different places to be able to get the resources that you need to move on. Now, in terms of your family, politics is very challenging, especially in a small island, because if your government is in, as you said earlier, my government, my prime minister, if your government is in, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be treated well, but at least your government is in, you might have a listening ear for things that you need. But when your government is not in, you are, listen, they almost want to deport you. And you're born here.
And the truth of the matter is, right, it is person that will say is my government. That's their right saying that is my government.
Is their right?
That's in their head.
Yeah.
But in reality, it is not their government.
It's everybody's government.
It is everybody's government.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes where people would say when governments change, people have a way of saying, well, victimize. Now, evidently, every time you have every new administration, you will want to bring the person that you maybe feel more comfortable with. But at the end of the day, there are also some persons that will have, with the mentality of my government, some of them, and I don't want to sound brutal, but I'm just going to bring it as real as possible. Some of these people put themselves in a position that the government have no choice, persons that are running these institutions have no choice of getting rid of them. I'm going to say why. Because when you're a government worker, you need to respect yourself professionally. In the Virgin Islands, and I'm going to say this, but I know it happened, where persons that are working for the government down there, they're not telling you that you cannot be in the politics, but you cannot be on your social media page being out of character and behaving in a kind of a way, and especially cursing out our professional people, the leaders, the politicians, whether we don't like them, there's a way. And I see this is happening here in St. Kitts. A lot. Where persons that work for the government, you hear them say, well, they're qualified, they got a PhD. But if you're qualified and you have your PhD, you went to college, you should know better. You don't have to gaslight on people. And we need to put a stop to this thing. And when it comes to government workers, you need a level of professionalism because and even the politicians, we cannot be calling out other people to say, like the gang members, crime and violence is a public matter. We want them to have law and order and respect the law. But at the same time, when it comes to respecting your associates, respecting your job, respecting your boss, at the end of the day, persons in management need to show leadership as well, right? And like I said, in terms of the victimization, it is there, it is real. But there's also some persons, and I'm not saying you, we're just talking in general, that put themselves in a position, you get a handout job. Settle yourself and just do the people and work. Because you never know when government change if you do your work, not all the time, but you're likely that they don't touch you. I know you have persons that are in government all these years, no matter who government in, and they stay there, and even if they're going to do their little shoo-shoo, they don't come out so plain and just totally out of order. And we've seen this happening here a lot. I could not be the prime minister and the leader of this federation because you're either going to like me or you're not going to like me. I am not going to be calling out persons or the opposition to want accountability from them, but I cannot get accountability from the person that are employed, the person that are carrying high position like ambassadors. What position you had, you said?
I was a district's coordinator.
Right, so you're a district coordinator. All of those have weight, right? You're PS, you're the prime minister, whatever position you have. When you over certain management, it does not mean that you're any. When people kind of misinterpret when the word boss.
Let me say the civil service have certain principles, guiding principles, but then there is also the law. If you are within your rights, if you are within the law, because I'm a very quiet, unassuming person, and I don't make my mouth big anywhere. But then there are persons who have a different type of temperament, and somebody would say, oh, they're misbehaving or they're rude. But you see, the civil service have certain rules and regulations that if a person, even if they talk a lot, even if they're loud, even if you think they're disrespectful, if they are within their rights, there is a civil service commission that if something comes upon this person have to follow the rules and the regulations. Somebody just can't come and terminate you like that for conduct. You understand? So we now have a society.
Question. Okay, you said that they can terminate you because of conduct. You said that
it depends on the conduct.
It depends. Oh, thank you. I just want to make sure that I get that clear.
It depends on the conduct.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I have been living here in St. Kitts all these years. How functional are these? What you call that? If a civil servant or even the prime minister or the COP, persons that are in certain position. We see it all along in America where, look, for instance, Donald Trump is running right now, and, they have a case with him, We don't really see this happening down here. And if it happen, it mostly happen with the person that is on the opposition side, right? So when our people are working for government, right, and you misbehave in a certain way, who report these people? Because if the manager basically hands up because you have your employees basically being boss over you because my prime minister is in, my premier is in, my government is in, so the manager or the director, whoever is over these people, have no control. How do you deal with something like that?
I think many of us would have heard about the law that recently came out about transparency in public life, right?
Yeah.
And so there are laws that govern. But just because I think that a person would have overstepped themselves, you have to go to the rules and the regulation to see what it says and what parameters that have. In my case, when I was working, I find the Public Service Commission was very functional because if there is a matter, you go before the Public Service Commission and they would question you or try you as a case or whatever the case is.
So repeat that again, because I don't think a lot of people out there that in the listening audience know of these things, because do they really happen?
They have the Civil Service Commission.
But sometimes you see some people, the way how they behave, you don't see them move. For instance, like I said, social media and even characteristic is very important, right? And I believe that when governments change, people say no victimizer, you're not going to move people, but they do get moved. But if sometimes they don't wait until these things change, because sometimes people not performing, Telka, they're not performing in these positions.
And I have a serious problem with that, because when you get a job, it is a privilege, because so many persons would have wished to be where you are.
Exactly.
And when you get a job as a civil servant, in the early days when you were a civil servant, you were looked upon. People look up to you. People respect you.
Listen,
And
even how they walk and how
yes,
they dress in the street,
yes,
they had their
yes.
professional walk.
Yes, yes.
You know?
They carry themselves a particular way.
Yes,
And
very modest, you know.
Yes, and as a civil servant, as somebody who works for the government, you actually work for the people, and you're supposed to be doing everything you can to assist the people who basically pay the taxes and who facilitate you having a job. And so I believe that for me, when I was the district coordinator, I was a community officer at first, attached to youth, and then I became the district coordinator at NEMA. And I felt very privileged to have that job. And one of the things about me is that I was there during Hurricane George, and you know how devastating that was. And I was so proud of the fact that I sometimes work until 9 o'clock at night, carry my young child with me and work, because I want to make sure that persons were rehabilitated. Now, there are a lot of persons who go to work, and you see them on the road all day. Or you see, every time you drive down Church Street, or they're going somewhere or coming, I can't say where they're going or coming.
And you see some of them in the bars. You literally see them.
I can't say whether where they're
linemen.
going. Maybe that is their break. I don't know. I don't judge people. I do not judge people.
And that is true that we don't judge
we
people.
We cannot judge people because we don't know what is going on, really.
And give me 1 second, Mr. Elker. You're absolutely right. We don't judge people, but there's certain time that you can look on a clock and see whether it's a half an hour, 45 minutes, or it's an hour. And when you see people there 2-4-7 just hanging, it's like a norm. It's a norm, and these things do happen, right? And if we're going to run away from it, and I don't mean you, because I'm just telling you, I'm here bringing the message from the people as a community person.
Yes.
But there's a lot of cleaning up. Government has to start from inside the house. It has to start from in there, because there's, number one, when people go in, do your clocking? Who do your clocking to? If you go to work, say 8 to 4, what time we have here? 8 to 4?
Most persons have a sign-in.
Right.
A sign-in where they sign in.
And who are monitoring these things? Because I am just basically saying that in order to get all of these things in place, right, to get some real professionalism, because there's a lot of persons out there doing the work, you know, but there's also a lot of people not doing it, and they're making it bad for those that are doing it.
Well, what I know of the civil service is that most departments have their sign-in where they register when you come to work and how often you come to work, you know. And so, as a civil servant, I believe that persons should treasure their job, because I'm telling you, when you reach the age of 55, 62, and if you last that long and you're able to get the money that you worked for over the years in a pension and a social security, and you're still healthy, and you can sit down and relax and say, boy, I had a good one, you know. Let it be an honest one. You know, let it be a good one. And in terms of when a government changes or whatever, your reposition or you're retired, make sure that as a young person, I'm speaking to young people now, make sure you have some kind of side hustle that you can fall back on. Laverne would know that. You would know that, because you have been self-employed for as long as I have known you, you know, and so...
I walk with it in my hand.
Right.
Wherever I go.
Right.
And nobody gonna pack me up at 55 and tell me I'm old. I'm walking with this. And if I have to cut here, God forbid, and I up until 80, how much ever years, and I still can go in my capacity, I am not going to stop. I'm going to go down with these.
But you see, it's a challenge, Lavi, because, okay, at the age of 55 or 62, you would have worked your work life, right? That is an opportunity for you to prepare yourself for retirement. And preparing yourself for retirement does not mean that you stop working. It means that you have a shift. Because some people work for government until they're in their 70s. But if you are there until you're 70-something, somebody younger cannot get into the system either, because the system only have so many spots to be filled.
Right. Well, I was basically speaking as an independent person.
Right.
Not for government, because any job, not even just government, in the service sector, they do have a time
In the
to cut
private
off.
sector,
Right.
they
also have some people that they do the work so good that even when they want to retire, they don't want them go.
That's true.
You are on demand.
That's true. That is true. And so, just because you stop working in the area or for the people that you have been working for, be it government, be it private sector, does mean you have to stop there. Most of the people who now reach 60-something, you realize, I am not making the money that I used to make before. So therefore, I have to find some kind of supplemental employment to continue that standard of living, and to continue to pay my bills, etc. And so being retired as a older person doesn't mean you become useless, because you would have gathered skills, you would have had experience, and you put all of that to use, and sometimes you make more money outside of the civil service or outside of your employment than you make than you made previously.
Right, and persons can come back as consultants.
Yes.
Right? I feel that a lot of people are taking advantage of the system, and they use the governments. And this is why I said that persons that have these positions in terms of the management to be over these offices or employees, I think that they need to continue having meetings. Like, let me explain something. I worked at Paul Mitchell Beauty School in the USA. And one of the things as a teacher, cosmetology teacher, what we did every day, I don't know if people do huddles, because huddle is a very important thing.
Yes, yes.
And if the office of the Prime Minister, the office of the CPO, the office of all different management institution, if they don't do huddle, you're going to have a problem. Huddle basically gather all the persons that are in management, and you have it in the morning, even if it's 15 minutes of huddle, to prep what you're going to do. You discuss what happened the day before.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, so if you finish, say for instance, you work from 8 to 4. We are so privileged down here. You have people just working 8 to 4. You do not go home 8 to 4. So which means we have to be on that job at least 7:45. So we can be there to prep for the time, welcome our employee. You understand?
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, if at 4 o'clock, we go and we make sure everything is okay. And at 4:45, because remember, we have to do a huddle.
Yes.
So by the time you finish and you get out of there, you will probably be maybe just about 5 o'clock. But at the end of the day, you have a control as a manager over your job. So every institution, even WinFM, I'm just calling whatever institution, and you have a certain amount of employee, you should have some kind of huddle, and this is where you're going to get respect. Because what's going to happen as a manager, and if you're over a certain department, somebody will probably maybe report a situation with one of the other employee, and you can discuss that in this management along with the directors or person that control the establishment, right?
Of course.
And I'm just saying that with our beautiful place, 98.9 literacy, many of our people going to college. There's some people have not even seen college because you have different generations, and some of the leaders will be the first in their family
to go
to college because other person made way for them.
Right.
And they don't understand that why they don't bring back some of their professionalism. And if they didn't have it, you need to continue learning and not just learning your craft, but you have to actually learn the work ethics in order to deal with your employee or your associates.
Right.
So lack of professionalism have a lot to do with it. And when governments change, some of these people definitely have to go. But the thing, what is happening here in St. Kitts, most of it don't go like that. It's like, my government and the people have got, to me, the people basically understand the politics here. And they go and they join these organizations for their own purpose. But that's where you have strong leadership. Because when you go in, you can't just say, well, no, give Laverne, give this person, give that. You're going to end back up in the same cycle. It's like you get rid of this, you go in to go and do
it becomes
a job.
toxic. It becomes
toxic. It becomes revolved like a cycle. And after a while, positive people lose interest in our leaders. They lose interest in the work. You hear some people say they're doing most of the work in there. The politicians just sit and walking on the road as if like, no, you're still on government time. You're on our taxpayers' time. So I believe that we really need to enforce strong leadership. You get a position. The position ain't just about your position. The position is about you being productive and basically have productivity is very important and performance.
Yeah, you talk about the huddling. I spent time at the hospital over last year, and I think the nurses do that very effectively because they have to hand over.
They have to hand over. Absolutely.
I think they have been doing a fantastic job.
Yes.
And I think
it's a part of their job all over.
It was a terrible situation where I was at the hospital all the time, but I observed certain things, certain positive things. For example, some of the older nurses came back on, and you see them every time the shift changes. They come together, they
have to discuss
the cases.
Absolutely.
So there are areas in our system
that's a very good example.
Does the huddling. And then in my case, when you have an event like a disaster, hurricane, storm, whatever, every day you have to look at the people who are affected and what were you able to do to advance them to rehabilitation. And you have to basically keep a log so that everybody know what is going on and to see what you can do better. Sometimes you do something, sometimes you have a needs analysis where a person say, and when somebody is affected, the situation becomes dynamic, because you might need water today, but after your thirst is gone, you realize, I ain't got no medication, medication.
Yeah.
So it's a dynamic situation that you have to address on a daily basis. I know in the civil service, people, the heads of departments and so on, meet on a regular basis. And so there are things like that happening.
What you consider as a regular basis, like meeting, in your experience working for government?
Yes.
In terms of meeting with your management, a team, what you consider as a regular basis, like maybe once a week or on a daily basis?
Well, you don't need to. In my department, we did not need to meet on a daily basis unless we have a project going, unless we have an event, something coming up, then we would meet. But we would definitely meet maybe 3 times, or if the need arise, then you would have a short meeting. But there were meetings, many meetings, and you had to meet with, of course, your people who you're working with in the communities. So just like the clubs and service organization, you meet once a month, once every other month, based on what is going on. So in my department of NEMA, we work with volunteers. So you had to go around the island to meet with all of these groups. And they were subdivided along the electoral boundaries. And so before hurricane season come, like from January, I am scheduling meetings with all of these teams. And then you have to look at shelters. And then you have to do shelter inspections. Of course, you're going to meet with other entities that inform shelter inspection. And same thing in the other parts of the civil service, which focuses on other areas. These are things that they do on a regular basis. Because let me tell you, you'll be amazed at the kind of things that come down, like foreign affairs. Foreign affairs have invitations, information. For example, I volunteer with UNESCO, right? And in June, I was supposed to go down to Paraguay to do a presentation on behalf of the St. Mary's Biosphere Reserve. And I sent down to find out if I needed a visa. They said no. St. Kitts and Nevis does not need a visa to go to Paraguay. But when I got to St. Martin, Copa Airlines said, we cannot accept you because you don't have a visa. They did not update their file, their system to say that St. Kitts and Nevis do not need a visa to Paraguay. So you see, foreign affairs have to send out all of these information, and the government of, say, for example, Paraguay, the government of Paraguay supposed to send that information to COPA. Our airliners, our government
which means
as well.
somebody wasn't doing their job, and the only person going to affect is the
person.
The person.
And you would not have known. And you know something, I was going through the line, and I saw the immigration pull out people from Dominican Republic and so on. I have them aside. I say, why? How does it feel to be taken like that and
single
out like that, and being questioned and being re-questioned, and everybody looking at you like somebody in a glass, right?
I went through that many times, being at the time a green card holder, and I go up there and they single me out, and some of it was, I would say, was discrimination. They search me all kind of way for drugs and different things. They bring the dogs. They try to ask me the same question maybe 20 times in a different spin. You know, so, but it is what it is. The people doing what they have to do to make sure.
That's their job, right? That's their job. But then when you're on the receiving end of that, it's just like in the political arena. Why was you have people out there with bigger mouths than me, who make noise and so on more than me, but the government of the day saw fit to single me out. Why did they single me? You will ask yourself this question. Why was I singled out?
I kept hearing you saying that people got bigger mouth than you. So it appears what is happening here, that many people feel that they get answers by being loud and go to the public.
Well, things have changed, because I think...
I don't think that's the best way to go, but sometimes people have no choice but to do that. But I don't think that's the best way. I feel like when it comes to a point like that, get all your facts and have your letters that you went and
nothing is done perfectly. In life, nothing is done perfectly. And sometimes the person who have the biggest mouth get the most attention.
But Ms. Telka, but this is what's happening here, right? I feel as Kittitians, we're loud in one way, but I feel like we're not really as aggressive when we need to be, right? Because there's so many people, as you said, are singled out, and not just in one particular government. In all the governments, we've seen it happen. And person feel like it's like, why them when they are performing, right? And and that's exactly come back. Who do you go to? Who do you go to?
You have no recourse.
But you just said that they do have
the Public Service Commission.
You said they have that, yes.
But if you are on the verge of 55, that is your work age. That is the time you have to go home. So if the government tell you, the government come in, which is the unity government coming in, and they say, you go. A lot of people got sent home.
So let me ask a question. So even if you're not 55 at the moment. Once you're approaching 55, you have to go.
My vacation would have taken me up to my 55th birthday.
So then
I have to
you're
go.
nothing wrong then.
So I'm saying I can't make a fuss. I can't make a fuss.
You can't say anything because it's in the writing, right?
They don't have to give me the extension. But I'm saying they don't have to give you the extension. But the regulations say you can ask.
But did you ask?
I did.
But at the same time, even though you ask, they don't have to give you.
They don't
as you
have
said.
to. But look at it. They did not respond to my
But
letter
not
either.
just saying you, eh? We're talking about in general.
I'm saying if they had responded to my letter and said, well, we cannot give you the extension, but no response. And when I asked, the fact that the person told me it came from higher up, you know, you are allowed 2 extensions, I believe. In the civil service regulations, I think you're allowed 2 extensions, but I didn't even get one.
But if they allow everybody for the extension, that is going to be 3 months or how much of a time before the retirement age. What's going to happen to those other persons that are within the age that cannot get a job because the job is revolving, you know?
It's the same thing.
And it came back to what you were saying, that people got to prepare themselves.
Yes.
That all these years, when you work 10, 20, 30, whatever year, you have to prepare yourself for retirement as well, not just with the government.
Life itself is very dynamic.
And sometimes things happen, right? Because if you're not working for government, what else you gonna do? Not saying you. People don't have any other. They have farming. It have sewing. It have cooking. It have so many hands-on. It have crafts, right? It have hairdressing, and it doesn't stop because somebody 55.
No, there are a lot of things. If you look at the age group out there between 62, 65, close to 70, people are working.
What I see happen, right? I think that, well, I don't know if governments are not doing it, but I think once somebody retire and they want to still work, because even teachers, and I could understand you don't put in so much time and getting up with all these children and stuff like that, but sometimes people just don't want to stop, but they don't mind putting in some hours. I don't see I don't know if they do it, but where persons that are retired they can still go back and put in some time. I see there was some nurses that was doing it, and some of them got sent home when the government changed. This previous government, when it changed, right? You had person that already retired, but they went back to give back the service because some of them are experienced and they were able to train other people.
But even now, you find at the hospital, they have a lot of the older nurses coming back because you spoke about something earlier about young people. A lot of times you say, this is young people time. Young people have energy. I love working with young people. The young people have energy, but the older person know the way. We have walked that walk, and we have talked that talk. So if you're still able, you can, in many places in the world, like I've been to Japan for training, and they have something called Silver Power, where people are like 75, 85, they're still contributing because when you reach to 55, 65, that is when you're at your best. That is when you are wise. So the training can come into something positive, you know. I remember when I went to Mona, to Jamaica, and my youth, the person who taught me youth, was 85 years old.
Exactly, and that is what I am saying, right? That I feel that politics is something else. People use certain things to get where they want just for that political purpose, right? And they fully well know you cannot cut off the elders and you cannot cut off the young. We need each other.
Everybody.
And also the middle.
You're right.
Right? Because when we leave from here, even when you go to all these big countries and you go to TSA, the police officers, you see, matter of fact, the ex-commissioner of police, C.G. Walwyn, he already retired, but he's now working
Because
in
you
the
have
States, and
that
you
is-
know,
you imagine,
people got to work because
you
let
get
me
all
tell
of
you-
this training. The government trained me so much.
Yes.
I got all of this training. And then when you're at your best, when you can give back so much, they tell you, it's time for you to go.
And it is okay,
Yeah.
it's time for you to go, but that's what I'm saying. Everybody, because there's only so much government can employ.
You're right.
What I feel that when people have a world of knowledge, even person in the banking field also, right?
You can-
They're in the financial area. You can go and open up little things and help somebody else and
Not
have your
only
little
that,
private business.
Not only that, government, I think moving forward, government need to have the capacity to have volunteers because
But it also comes from mature-minded people and persons that respect the job and realize that they cannot do it alone.
Right.
Right? A government should not be a friend because I get elected, Telka is my friend, and then Telka now going to bring her other friend. You're going to have problems.
Well, I was trained by the Caribbean Institute for Women in Leadership in 2011.
I think they need to hire you, Telka.
Hire me for what? Yeah, in 2011, I was trained as a transformational leader. And when you're trained as a transformational leader, one of the most dynamic things that came out is that they give you a quiz to do before you. We went to St. Lucia. They give you a survey to do before, a questionnaire. And when you got there, they would have already assessed it was an assessment. And so they would have they put you into 4 different groups, right? And I'm there, they put me in a group. I didn't get to go in any one of the groups. And I felt really, really strange, you know?
Yeah.
So then they said they very seldom have people like me where you can function in any group. So people need to know where they fall. It is not an indictment. It is an opportunity for you to bring to your side persons who can do what you cannot do.
And as you said, right, this can only happen when you put people in position that they experience in. And when you're not experienced in a particular job and get the training, and you basically going to be like somebody boss that have more experience than you, it does not mean that they cannot be a boss. But they should be able to want to learn and take off some of the ego too. Because what I see that is happening in our small island, or islands, it have a lot of square pegs in what kind of hole.
People saying it all the time.
And it's not-
It happens all the time.
And that's why our topic tonight is what? Let the people know the topic.
Right. How do you survive, basically, when you're displaced, when government change and you're reassigned, or if you are terminated, if you are sent home, right? How do you survive? What are the psychological aspects of that? How do you cope with your life if you're getting a small pension, but you're accustomed to having a big lifestyle? Because if you're making certain kind of money, you have a particular lifestyle, and you have to step down from that because you have to live within your means, you know? So at the end of the day, as a older person, looking back,
As a mature person,
uh-huh.
because you could be older, and a lot of people can be older, but you are what you live, right?
yes,
You are your experience.
right,
So I like to say mature.
mature. Everybody have their own words that they use, right? And maturity is very important.
Absolutely.
And
Maturity
honesty,
bring experience.
and honesty is very important. One of the things that people have to do is to question themselves. A lot of times, if somebody come and they say something to you that you don't, it is not a nice thing that they're saying to you, like they're not praising you up, they're telling you, listen, you can do better in this. Don't let nobody come to tell you that. Be honest with yourself. When you get up in the morning early, you look back at your yesterday and you say huddle, but I do huddle with myself. And say, girl, you could do that. You could have done better, you know.
And you look in the mirror and say, I am beautiful.
Yeah.
I am strong.
Yeah.
I am powerful.
Yeah,
I am
but-
confident.
Yeah, but you say, I need to do this more often.
Yeah.
I need to do better. When I spoke that way to someone, it wasn't the best that I could have done. I didn't leave a positive impact. Because you have to say in your life, you know, I want to leave a positive impact. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to take away from an individual. I want to be able to give something to the individual, you know? So as a manager, as a leader, one of the first things that you must be able to do is that you must be able to be honest with yourself. And if you need training, Lavi, I'm going to give you a joke. When I went to work at community and social development, right? I couldn't type. I couldn't use the computer. Computer was fairly kind of new around here. I couldn't use the computer. And he had a clerk there who used to type for me. You know, she was doing it for everybody. But, you know, if somebody know that you can't do certain things, they like hold it over your head, you know? You give them something to do, and they will give you the big run around. Then I sat down with myself and I said, listen, you need to learn to use this computer here. I went to Wilkins Secretarial College in my teens, so I could type very well, but the computer was a new technology. So I heard that Youth Skill was doing training in computer data entering and so on. So, and it was doing at 6 o'clock in the evening. So I take myself, I ducked through all the element down to McKnight to learn to use the computer. I didn't tell a soul what I was doing. When I got the hang of it, I became even better than the secretary. And so she asked me, Miss Wallace, you ain't got nothing to type. I said, not at this time, dear. But she see me work being done. I'm doing it myself. Because if you give somebody something to do and they procrastinating and keep you waiting, you have to find a way to not be the one at the receiving end of that kind of treatment. And so, as I say, we have to be honest with ourselves to see where we need training. And training is a lifelong experience.
So who got to be honest with ourselves? We got to be honest with ourselves. But when you
Everyone.
Right, but we're also talking about the governments. And in terms of in these positions, when you're a manager, if you are not leading by the head, what do you think going to happen?
Everyone has to be honest. Because, as you said, you might be less experienced than some of the persons that you're managing. But just like when you're a politician and you become a minister, you're told, okay, you are the Minister of Works and Utilities. You know the number of works, now utilities. But you have senior public servants there. They're responsible for the job. But you are the minister of that entity. So you will learn as much as you can.
You want me to tell you what I see happening here in St. Kitts?
What do you see?
What I observe, and I kept saying here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but I am in St. Kitts. I see where government ministers are elected. I'm not working for government, right? However, I see where a lot of things that the elected leaders do, or the directors are persons that work in alongside these electees or electors. I think that they do too much talking. Like if they're having a function and they want to put on something, you just have this one person from the government up there just talking, and then we just going to come around and just sit and just listen to them. I believe that it needs to be in a position where some of those government leaders need to sit down in the audience and have people up there we're actually listening to us. It should not be every function that you go to, you have government leaders just on a platform or at the head of a table. And like we just round there just like that, and they're just talking. And some of the things they're talking, some of them have not even experienced it. So it shows that sometimes when they're doing the speech, it's like a script, you know, because it's best when you walk, you talk. And I don't care what kind of degrees that you have, right? It is good to have them, but real leaders encourage other persons to be leaders and give them a chance. You don't always have to have the mic.
That is true.
And this happening here with all, I mean, I grew up on top of it as a child, and I'm a grown woman now. You know, especially when we travel out, right? And we basically see that you work in a management, and even the general manager do not step in unless they really have to be in that position.
Well,
they actually want the associates to be leaders. So even though you're a manager, they don't want they don't want people to be micromanaging people, because if you make your workers uncomfortable, you're not going to have a good business, and you're going to have an angry set of people. And this is what I hear. This is from Real Talk with Lavi, where grassroots people and persons that work for the government over the years, some of them have not even seen the leader, the prime minister, actually give a walk only when they probably go in first. But they have not really gone even to some of the divisions, so they don't even know some who work in with them. And they're persons that have questions that they want to probably maybe put to the leaders because of things that they don't like. So when you say that they have a task force or whatever, that people, the work, that they could go and talk, some of them don't want to go. And it is sad, because if you have government workers cannot even go and talk to the manager, and only waiting to talk to their prime minister, you understand what I mean, who they consider as boss.
Our situation is kind of challenging.
It is very challenging. It's not going to change overnight, but the mindset of persons that work in government, right? It has to change, and it must change for the better. Because if you feel that you have a manager or you have a PS and a director, and you cannot even go and speak to them, you're waiting to speak to the minister itself or the prime minister, when 99% of the time these people are busy too. So it is very important, if you have a situation, right? Don't wait until government change, because you know you're likely to get changed too, right? It's just like I feel that we need to be a little bit more
in our federation.
In our federation, we need to educate ourselves more. And you said something that I like, that you need to be honest with yourself, because you just cannot go in there and feel, because your government is in and you get a job, you don't have to do the work. You could speak to people how you want to speak to them, right? It's not going to make your government look good.
That is true. But when you spoke earlier about management being the only voice, I reflected on the fact that, I used to run a modeling agency.
Of course, I know you. You do everything. What you do, Mr. Elka?
I have no idea. But
you never used to sell your products too?
Yes.
What you do?
That's what I tell you. I used to work with my friend Linda too.
Girl. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
yes.
you have, but in your life, you have a phone call.
Oh, I do have a phone call. I'm so sorry. I took my thing off. A pleasant good evening. You're on Real Talk with Lavi.
Oh, good evening to you and your guests.
Good night.
Yeah, I'm happy I got in before you got off, because I tuned in kind of late. But you make some great comments, in the past 5 minutes. Like when you said that when the prime minister could say that go and they have these conferences and these press brief and stuff like that. We need to see the heads of the department staff, the PSs. The prime minister is pushing big time this thing called a sustainable island state. But this sustainable island state agenda can't work with the mentality and the attitude of the people. You know, we need the PSS to do their job. The Prime Minister has a lot of work to do. This man seems like he's under some type of stress sometimes. You know, if I was Prime Minister, I want my PSS and all of my departments them underneath of me. They got to do their work for this thing to be successful, and for him to have a good legacy. You know, I mean, it's the motto country above self. The motto is country above self. We cannot be thinking individualistic. Like you said, yes, the leaders them they need to give the PSS underneath the dam, the heads of the departments underneath the dam. They sometimes maybe need to come out and let them talk and see what's going on inside their department as well. You know, like give them the opportunity to present themselves to the public. You know, vice versa, back and forth, man. Switch it up sometimes. But we definitely need them PSS to be effective. We need them departments to be effective and efficient.
And they need to be correct. And they need to be listening to the people. You know, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis is tired of just politicians, the ministers just coming out and talking. Basically, they come scripted, and they're not there to listen to the people.
And that's very correct because, like we know, PLP had a conference earlier this evening. And one of the questions that one of the reporters asked right off the bat is a new law that was passed in Parliament about the single judge they're taking us back to a single judge trials. And
Carla, listen, I don't want to stop you, but the topic tonight is not really about that. We got to stick on the topic. I don't know if you know the topic, so I just want you to stay on the topic because this show is Real Talk, and tonight's topic is not about what you were going to say. The topic is how do mature employees cope with job loss or reassignment when governments change. So if you can give us, stick on the topic, I would really love that.
Yeah, no problem at all. Mm-hmm. There's that victimization when that happens or whatever. But it's very difficult for one to cope, you know, if they have like a specific lifestyle and all of a sudden they got to be uprooted because of a government change. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe in that because government is continuous and we should be looking at the good parts of whatever situation was there with the prior government. And as a new government take office, we should just add towards that and to keep the good things going so that we can have a...
And also, Carlo, people got to realize that when governments change, depending on your age, you know, it is a fact. So people got to work towards life after government and retirement.
Life
right?
after retirement.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
So we gotta put something aside for a rainy day and for when we get old.
Yes, that's
right.
what I said.
Because if you there's certain places that you work that is non-government, and if somebody basically want to get rid of you, they're gonna get rid of you. So you still have to prepare yourself. What's the next step? And sometimes things happen for a reason. Mind you, I'm not promoting anybody that just lost the job because it can be a psychological thing. It could be mental, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know how people deal with things. Sometimes people have a fixed income to deal with their budget and their expenses. But we also got to be realistic, right? And know that nobody really own a job per se, you know. Mm-hmm. You understand? Yeah, that is why people got to make sure that you do your job to your best ability. And sometimes
you prepare.
And then sometimes you can't even prepare because it depends on how it comes.
That's true.
But I also believe that people got to recognize that sometimes when things happen, God is open doors for something else. Maybe it's time for people to leave the government job and go do some other things too.
That's true.
And that's what we always got to keep in mind. That, you know, when one door is closed, many more open.
And next one open, we got to be able to take risk. And we have to
It brings out the best of...
Yes, give me 1 second.
It brings out the best in us all, you know, when we get in a situation like that.
Right.
Great show, man, and keep up the good work, man. We keep listening.
Thank you for calling, but as I said, next time, just always, Real Talk, stick on the topic. It's not an open discussion tonight. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
you.
Thanks,
no problem. Thanks a lot. You guys
All right.
Yes.
Yes, so
Very, very good caller. The issue of teamwork, I was telling you about my agency. And when we do functions, we did very high level functions. And you know who managed the function? The models. I am only there if somebody run into a problem. But my models would plan the whole event and execute the event. And the persons who trained under me, I am very proud to say none of them fell through the cracks. And they were very young people. When I see how some of them turn out, they own their own business, says they went to university, they're doing well, And so that teamwork, team spirit, building team spirit, if you are the only one speaking all the time, it means that you are standing alone. If you have a team, it's supposed to be a huddle. It's supposed to say, you're going to talk today. Or you're going to talk today. You're going to be the one. But on the other hand, I see when the government have press conferences, they don't go alone. They go with the competent authorities. For example, if it's national security, they will go with the national security team. And if there's a question posed, I would hear the person say, well, the commissioner of police would answer that, or the commander would answer that, or someone from fire and rescue would answer that. So they have some level of teamwork in there, because if they're doing press conference, they do not go by themselves. They have others there, the competent authorities, to answer these questions. So we have work to do. We are doing some things, but we have work to do. And
we have a lot of work to do.
What I would say to
a lot. And
when I see,
it's not going to happen overnight.
No, it's a process.
But it's a process. But
It's a
also
process.
persons that are put in certain positions, like I said, they need to have a level of respect and confidence as well. There's some people you cannot even call. You cannot even call them. I remember I had reached out to the law enforcement. I invite them on top of my show, the national advisor, and everybody was tuned in, and they was asked not to come and give on the show at the time. I've reached out to them, and I'm going to come, and I have not heard anything.
Well, that is a sensitive issue. Even this that we were talking about tonight, in terms of what to do when you're retired or reassigned. Some people wouldn't speak of it because it is a sensitive issue.
So, but government job, when they go in, they go in on a lot of sensitive issues as well.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, the government there is to deal with not just comfortable issues
I know,
either.
but
right?
at the same time, I mean, I'm a fair person. If you call law enforcement in to speak on, let's say, state of crime or whatever it is.
Well, let me tell you this here. What they was going to come in on was something that was already put out in the media. And it was a statement by the minister, the advisor for the national security, where he said that if somebody commit a crime, they must go and borrow some money, right? Catch a plane and leave the island, because basically they're saying, instead of staying here, and I think in a sense of, I don't know about borrowing the money. It's good that if you know that your child, I think maybe the way how he wanted to bring it out, it never come out that way. Because if you have if you're in situations and when you're in St. Kitts and you can't go east, you can't go west, it's going to be a problem. So maybe it's about time you go somewhere else, but sometimes they go somewhere else and they do the same thing.
I believe what he wanted to put across is that if you are thinking of doing something like harming someone, the best thing for you to do is to leave, because we don't need that kind of problem.
Well,
But-
we are thinking what he was supposed to say, and this is why I was inviting him on the show for him
but-
to go back and explain and let the people know, let it come from the horse's mouth.
But then
because we could only
sometimes-
assume what he's going to say. It have to come
Right.
from the horse's mouth.
But then sometimes
This is Real Talk with
Yes.
Lavi.
Yes.
It is 9:22. We're going to take it up to the hour of 9:30. We have here in the studios with us, our guest is none other than Miss Telka Wallace. This lady, you need to be a national hero. I'm going to make sure when I become Prime Minister.
my dear.
Yes, but we have a woman in here with tons of experience. And how many years did you work in government?
I work in government close to 19 years.
See, 19 years is not
Yeah.
just a little piece of years.
No,
That's a lot
was a
of
lot.
years, right?
Yes.
But Telka, the topic tonight, like I said, some people would say it's touchy. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of other topics where people only, they choose what is touchy. Because when they're going out there and they're gossiping and they're doing things to bring down other people, right? A lot of person that you think have sense, they indulge in these things.
Yes.
And there's certain things that we have to, because tonight, I don't think it's a touchy topic. I feel like we was able to let people know, is motivate and inspiring them
Right,
to
right.
let them know there's other opportunities. Sometimes we ain't gonna like what happened, and then there are persons that might be in a position, if you feel you're victimized, sue the government. I've
and
seen
people have
persons that have done it and they
People have
won.
done that. Yeah, people have done that.
You know?
And it is a sensitive topic because a lot of persons were sent home around the time when I was sent home. And it was a devastating time for a lot of people. But this is the first time I've actually spoken about it.
Right, and that was when? In 2000 when?
2015.
2015, and
Yes.
there are other persons out there now in 2022, 2024, going through the same thing. There are other persons in 1992, 19 XYZ time, 2000. They go through these kind of things, right? And at the end of the day, some of these people, if they have to be honest with themselves, these jobs was given to them. There was handout jobs. So when people get a handout jobs, and if this
Not
is,
all,
I'm
not all,
not saying
not
all of
all,
them.
not
I'm not saying
all.
all. But you know how our system work here. There's some.
I don't want us to look at it that way.
Yeah, but at the same time, just like how you don't want us to look at it that way, there's a possible way that it can be that way too.
Right.
Right, but it's not. It's we're talking real talk, right?
Yes.
And the sink is small, and we know some of these jobs. Some of these people don't deserve these kind of jobs. We know that. Yeah. Hold on. Hi. Good evening. Welcome to Real Talk with Lavi. How may I help you? Hello.
Good night. Is this Win FM?
Yes, it is. This is Real Talk with Lavi.
Is this Lavi?
Hi.
Good night. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I just want to call and compliment you guys on the excellent program. I mean, I heard Miss Wallace said you've been there for 19 years.
Yes.
I thought she was like over 30-something years.
I thought it was 50.
No, I was there for about 19 years, but I made good for the 19 years. I thank the government for all of the investment.
Carla, you there still?
Yes.
Hello?
He dropped out.
Oh, he dropped out?
Yes.
He's there still? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Carla. Are you there?
Yeah, yes, Lavi.
Yes.
I'd like to compliment both of you, young ladies, for hosting a very exciting program. There's a lot of issues that you are brought up that is very good. Now, when you go into the civil service, you are aware what's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, Lavi, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here. I'm hearing you.
Oh, I'm just listening to you. That's why, sorry. I just didn't want to overtalk you.
I'm listening and looking at you. And Miss Wallace.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for calling.
I'm saying that when one becomes a civil servant, they are aware of the rules and the laws.
Amen.
55 or 62.
Yes.
But if you are performing well, regardless of your age, and let's forget about the politics. Regardless of your age, if you're doing an excellent job, they'll keep you. When you are in a senior person in the civil service, you have a ton of experience. So if they send you home after you have reached your time, 55 or 62, the kind of experience they have, they could go back and form some sort of business.
Yes.
Educating people. Maybe they could do employment agency or something like that. Or Miss Wallace, she got a lot of different hats. But it seems like people in St. Kitts that after they finish with the civil servant or wherever they're working, they just go home and enjoy the fruit of the labor. Right? They can go and start some sort of business because there's opportunity there.
Correct.
Then we keep complaining, saying that the foreigners come in and getting the best job, but they invest their money, they invest their time. And that's what I want to see our Kittian and Division do. Right?
Yes.
Put back some of the experience that you have gotten from the government. They send you on all kind of training all over the world. And they need to give back something to the society or the community or the country. Now, the problem that Miss Wallace was identifying when she went to St. Martin to go, where she was going to go?
Paraguay.
In those databases, they have to get people to upgrade them because if you go in India, there's a lot of old information.
Yes.
That they need to upgrade.
Yeah.
You know? So, well, nice program. And maybe what you should do next time, bring the person who is in charge of the yeah. All right. Nice program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourself.
Thank you so much. I just really appreciate positive people when they call in, and he share a lot. Because as he said, when we finish working and you reach retirement, some people really don't know, and this is where programs like this, where just people getting that motivation and know that they're not alone. You know, so if more people can come on and help other person to get to that next level.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I'd give back because, as you know, I do a lot of volunteering. I volunteer with the MAB program, and from the MAB program, I volunteered with the MAB program since 2009 until today. And I have been able to work with young school children, with teenagers from the high school, and it has been a very rewarding experience for me. I am in the business of staying young, and when you're in the business of staying young, you would continue to work with persons, even if you're retired, you find a way to bridge that gap.
All right, it is 9:30. You know, no matter when we're doing shows, right? The time to come, and you don't want to cut off nobody, but we have a program to run, and I just want to thank Ms. Wallace for being here. I also want to thank the callers, persons that I know you're out there listening. Thank you for listening. You know, if you are in a position and you know you have something to give back and share back with someone, this program is for you. You can always call Win FM. You can also call me, and I'm going to put it on the thread. I'm not going to call it out publicly, but you can also contact the station, and if you want to be a part of something good by giving back, you know. And as I said, I am here to, when it comes to age, we want to include everybody. Real Talk is about inclusion.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what kind of job you have. I don't care. Once you're breathing that oxygen and you can come and give back your stories, this is what we want here, because this is how we build leaders. And with this, I'm just going to say have a wonderful night. It was a pleasure to be here once again on Real Talk. Next week coming up, we're going to have Mr. Vance, and he's going to be here to share crime and violence is a public health matter. So he's going to come and give some information when it comes to something like that. I think I'm looking for somebody. I'm asking anyone out there, if you know you have that kind of creativity and you know you can maybe host a show, maybe Lavi is looking for you, and I can't do it alone, right? Sometimes I might need a break, and the show still have to continue. So maybe I might talk to Telka and see what Telka say. She have time. She says she's young, and Real Talk gonna need somebody with vibes. We can come and bring whatever, but you need to have some energy. And hey, I got young, I don't know about y'all. But like I said, have a wonderful day, St. Kitts and Nevis. It's all about professionalism. It's all about continue building yourself to be better, wiser, smarter.
Mm-hmm.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
night.
Mm-hmm.
Let's Get Real on Win FM. Hi, this is Lavi. Let's Get Real, Wednesday nights at 8 on Win FM. Get ready for an hour of real talk that will keep you engaged and informed, bringing you insights, the hottest topics of the moment, and perspectives that matter from the runway to the political arena. Real Talk with Lavi covers it all. Let's Get Real, Wednesday nights at 8 on Win FM.